Hassan Rouhani has become the new president of Iran, having been endorsed by the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a ceremony ahead of his official inauguration tomorrow. The cleric, who won the presidential poll in June, has promised reform and to end Iran's international isolation. And Channel 4 News is the only British news organisation in Tehran. And our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, joins me from there now. Alex.
Yes, good evening, Sarah, from the Iranian capital. And with all the ceremony that you would indeed expect, the formal handover today from the previous president, of course, President Ahmadinejad, to Mr. Rouhani, a very, very different figure. And from him, I think, two really key pledges. Obviously, primarily the immediate domestic need to sort out the parlous, indeed crippled state of the Iranian economy first and foremost. But alongside and allied very much to that, something really very new after 8 years of harsh rhetoric. The need to re-engage much more constructively with the wider world. All this a very different style, at least. We have to wait for the content, but a very different style from the 8 years of Ahmadinejad rule.
From Glasgow student to embracing presidential power back in Iran and the supreme leader, the man he'd advised for so long. Meet President Rouhani. "I'm no outsider, I'm a man of the regime," he said. But, he added, this country needs change.
The government will aim at rescuing Iran's economy, resurrecting morality and constructive interaction with the outside world.
And the electorate here have said decisively they don't want to get fooled again, and the new boss is very much not like the old boss. President Ahmadinejad here today. Last night, though, he bowed out with a speech full of apologies that left many here gasping in amazement. Change and a sense of hope are genuinely in the air here, but at today's ceremony they still ended with this. The ritual chant of death to America, though in truth this rendition was more pedestrian than passionate. Some say the election result shows voters tired of such rhetoric, and President Rouhani's style is definitely not wiping Israel off the map. But then again, don't expect dramatic gestures.
As far as the nuclear issue is concerned, as far as Iran policies towards Lebanon, supporting Hamas, Iran's role in Iraq, we mustn't expect a sudden U-turn in any of these policies.
When you come to somewhere like this in central Tehran, the main bazaar, you come up against a clash of two completely different worlds. For the outside, for the West, the most important issue facing the new president is the ongoing nuclear one. Yet, when you ask people here, what's the most important thing in the new president's entree? Absolutely nobody at all ever mentions the word nuclear.
For us, only important is the economy.
The new president needs to sort out the economy because young people here are facing big problems.
The most important thing to do is to control inflation and give people here real freedom.
Currency devalued 80% in a year, inflation at least 42%, youth unemployment 28%. How can a new president repair all that while the sanctions over the nuclear standoff remain in place? Some high-wire act for this son of a spice merchant turned president. He carries huge hope of change. Do too little and support ebbs. Do too much and the hardliners are displeased. Remind you of another president? Were Obama and Rouhani to meet, they might find they've one or two things in common.
So, Alex, what's going to happen tomorrow?
Well, yes, the full inauguration tomorrow of the president. Everything you'd expect, the pomp, the ceremony, the oath of office, speeches, foreign dignitaries, though not, of course, any from both the EU or the US. That's the pomp of it, but the real substance, look out for the cabinet appointments. Here it gets really interesting and things unthinkable during the 8 years of Ahmadinejad administration. Likelihood is you will get key appointments to the cabinet, people, technocrats who've been educated at university level in the West, fluent not just in the language but in the ways and culture of the West. Not necessarily an easier adversary, if you like, to deal with for the West, particularly over that nuclear issue, but a lot more subtle. Back to you.
Well, we'll be talking to you about all of that again tomorrow. Thanks very much, Alex. And Alex has written more on the task ahead of the new Iranian president in his blog on our website. That's at channel4.com/news.